The Darkest Corner has two tales of haunted churches, starting now.
Night Mass. Father Daniel had been the caretaker of St. Augustine Church for nearly 20 years. Nestled in a small, quiet town, the church had always been a sanctuary of peace, until the night he heard the bells toll at midnight. No one was supposed to be inside. Services ended hours ago, and he was the only one with the keys. Yet the great iron bells above the chapel rang out in slow, haunting chimes. Daniel grabbed a lantern and stepped into the nave. The pews stretched into darkness, and the stained glass windows cast eerie, fragmented light across the floor as the moon shone through them. Then he heard it, soft, distant chanting, a choir, but the church was empty. The voices rose in a ghostly hymn, a sound both beautiful and deeply unsettling. They came from the altar, where the great wooden crucifix hung. The air grew thick with a scent of burning wax, though no candles were lit. As he approached, the voices stopped. Silence. Then a whisper. "You should not be here, Father." Daniel turned, but no one was there. The whisper had come from the confessional booth. The wooden door creaked open slightly, as if beckoning him. Summoning his courage, he stepped inside. The air was stale, filled with the scent of rotting wood. He placed his hand on the dividing screen. It was ice cold. "Bless me, Father, for I have sinned." The voice slithered through the screen, a voice that did not belong to anyone human. A deep, guttural breath rasped from the other side. "I have been waiting for you." The confessional door slammed shut. The candlelight flickered violently, casting twisting shadows along the walls. Daniel felt something shift behind him, inside the booth with him. A hand, cold as death, rested on his shoulder. He did not turn. He did not breathe. Then a voice spoke, inches from his ear. "Your sins cannot be forgiven." The next morning, the church doors were found wide open. The confessional was empty, save for a single set of priestly robes crumpled on the floor. Father Daniel was never seen again. But at midnight, the bells still ring, and if you listen closely, you can hear the choir singing, calling for the next soul to confess.
Part 2.
The old church of St. Cuthbert's stood on a lonely hill, its spire a skeletal finger pointing towards the perpetually gray sky. Locals whispered that the stained glass windows, though beautiful, depicted not saints, but something far older and more malevolent. Father Thomas, new to the parish, scoffed at these tales. He believed in reason, in the light of God. But the silence of St. Cuthbert's was unnerving. The air within was always cold, even in the summer, and the scent of damp earth and something faintly metallic clung to the ancient stones. One night a storm raged, rattling the church's heavy oak doors. Thomas, unable to sleep, decided to check for damage. As he walked down the echoing nave, the flickering candlelight cast long distorted shadows that danced on the walls, transforming the familiar carvings into grotesque figures. He paused before the large stained glass window depicting the supposed martyrdom of St. Cuthbert. The glass seemed to pulse with an inner light, and the saint's painted eyes appeared to follow him. A low, guttural chanting echoed from the depths of the church, a sound that seemed to vibrate in his very bones. He dismissed it as the wind, but the chanting grew louder, more distinct. He followed the sound, his heart pounding, towards the crypt beneath the altar. The heavy stone door was slightly ajar, a sliver of darkness beckoning him. He pushed the door open and descended the worn stone steps. The air in the crypt was thick and fetid, the stench of decay overwhelming. The chanting was deafening now, a chorus of rasping voices. In the center of the crypt, a circle of flickering candles illuminated a scene that made his blood run cold. The old pews, dragged down from the nave, formed a crude amphitheater. In the center of the circle, a dark, shapeless mass writhed and pulsed, its surface covered in what looked like eyes. The chanting emanated from the mass, a cacophony of whispers and groans. The stained glass window above, somehow reflecting light down into the crypt, showed not a saint, but a monstrous, many-eyed creature, its tentacles reaching out from the glass as if to touch the dark mass below. Then the eyes on the mass turned towards him. A single, cold voice that seemed to come from every direction at once echoed through the crypt. "The shepherd has come to join the flock." Thomas tried to scream, to run, but his legs wouldn't move. The dark mass surged towards him, its eyes burning into his soul. The candles flickered and went out, plunging the crypt into absolute darkness. The next morning, the villagers found the church doors wide open. Inside, the pews were scattered, and the air was heavy with the scent of decay. Father Thomas was gone. The stained glass window, depicting St. Cuthbert's martyrdom, was shattered, and in its place a dark, unreadable symbol had appeared, etched into the ancient glass. And from the depths of the church, a faint, rhythmic chanting could still be heard, a chilling reminder that some things are best left undisturbed, even in the house of God.